Hello, comrades, and welcome back to Rever's Railway College. I think I said that right. If said it a little funny. And I have set up a whole little town for us, a town of rail construction, which you probably already guessed we would be doing if you can read the title. In any event, here we are with our little town of rail construction, and I don't have any people in here yet, and I did want to point out, I'm going to be very basic about this, assuming that you've never constructed anything, and then hopefully we can get to all of everything that I've experienced with constructing by rail. I'm sure there are going to be things that I've missed, but we'll at least cover the bigger topics. So what I've done is just over here, just a very temporary little setup where what I want to do is point out the things you can and can't do with the rail and some of the funny things that they do. Now, if you go back, in this series of videos, there should be a link to a series of tests and tutorials. One of the tests I did was, what is the best rail construction crane? So if we were to come in here and look, I tested each one of these. Now, this train's not available to 1968, so that's sort of a bit of a problem. So when you first start out, you're probably going to start out with just this little guy. Now, I don't know if you're even going to be building rails before 1968. That's certainly a judgment call as to whether it's worth it. But at the same time, there's just no question about it that this rail crane is the fastest rail crane. So let's go ahead and buy one of those for now. And I will show you what we can do. So we'll put this off to the side. Let's start playing time. No reason really not to. Now, if we try to assign this guy, let's see. Why do we... Okay, this is something I've noticed before too. Because these are attached to the building, you can't not build those. Like, see, look, I can't cancel these. And that's, boy, I was frustrated as all get out at one point. Like, why can't I cancel that? I mean, it wasn't that frustrated, but you get the point. Like, it was certainly, I tried my darndest to cancel it and whatnot. So now you notice we're not doing anything. And that is a bit of a problem. And it's at least in part because we don't have any people. So let's go ahead, and it doesn't really matter what kind of people you get. And you will get some educated if you just, not invite immigrants from the third world, but regular Soviet immigrants. If you notice, we are getting a few educated people. And I haven't, in any of my tests, found that one is better than the other as far as manual labor. Of course, if you have to have schools and whatnot, you need the educated people for schools and hospitals, but we don't need to worry about that. We have people, and we are still not building anything. The little guy will pop out of here when we're ready. And why is that? And I very deliberately showed you this. At first, we don't have any gravel right here, right? So we're going to purchase a bit of gravel. Now, I would like you to notice, let's see, now they probably fixed it, but at one point, yeah, see, this only puts in 12 tons of gravel. Now, I say only, you know what, I think I'm even going to do fast forward time. See how he just came out and built that little tiny bit? And then when he, notice, here, you know what, we're going to slow that back down again. Notice what's happening here. And this is a problem for all of your supplies. This isn't just for the gravel. The fuel doesn't seem to be an issue, but that's not really a supply, right? So when he comes in here, in order to get enough stuff, he comes out with just a little bit. Let's see, we can kind of click on here and see what he's doing. See, he's adding gravel and he's adding, the steel at this point and panels. But the problem that we have is he only takes like 12 tons of gravel because he takes it instantly. Now we're going to fast forward again and hope he gets done. He went a little further this time to make a liar out of me. There you go. Now we're going to slow it down. Now watch what happens. This is important because as you set up these things, this really makes a big difference, what I'm about to show you. So we'll watch real carefully this time. He comes in and instantly grabs. Come on. There he goes. See how he just instantly grabbed like the 12 tons of gravel and then off he went? Especially if now we have another construction vehicle. So what I'm going to do, let's fast forward time until he gets done a little bit. And then we'll then I'll slow it or even pause it and buy another construction vehicle, like when he's just getting back in there. Now, this, like I said, the same thing could be happening with these. It depends on the exact job they're doing, but it's like they haven't quite. We have plenty of gravel over here in the sense of when we're purchasing it. I'm trying to do too much at once. I got rails open, aggregate storage open. All right, let's let him get in there. Pause it. Let him get in there. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy another railway crane. Let me close this and close this. Close that. Ready? Now let's watch what happens when they play. There's 2 different jobs that they're assigned to do, so 2 of them should go out, but watch what happens here. See, the one took the stuff, and then the other, see, like, they both shared that little bit. There's not enough time for this to come back in here. So one of these guys is only going to have a tiny bit of gravel on them. You can't really see how much they have in them. But they fight each other over this little bit of gravel. So you say, well, what do I do about that? And you can try to come in here and have more, but it doesn't make any difference. It's not like a percentage. See, like now we have tons and tons of gravel in here. It's not like there's some balancing act going on. So there's a train leaving, so that's refilling back up to the 12. And as far as I know, there's no way with this situation that we could force this in here. However, let's pause it for a second. I am going to come back to the conveyors, and I'm going to delete this conveyor. And I'm going to put one of these transfer stations right in here. And let's just get... Right? And watch what happens. I think you guys could probably guess. Oops. We'll purchase those with rubles because we have an unlimited supply. And we need to purchase this guy. And hopefully he has power. There's the... Now, we have all that we could ever want. So the lesson is, and this could really slow down how fast your construction is going at that point. You know, because if they're not getting enough gravel each time. Now, the same thing can happen with the other supplies. So one of the things a lot of people recommend, if you look at what we need to just lay regular tracks, you don't need any bricks. And you don't need any boards. Right, so notice how when we did do the purchasing, now we have twice as much steel. Now I'll even go like this and get rid of everything, all the bricks. It's a little bit of a slow process, but we'll get rid of all of that. Now notice we have much more of each of these other things in there. Why is this? Yeah, okay. Why can't I discard that? Huh. Well, in any event, you get the idea. So what we just did was we guaranteed that our guy would be full of stuff. Now, the problem is there are going to be some constructions that you do that need the bricks and the board. So if we come here, and here we'll just build a little tiny chunk of... So you can see here, well, let's do this. So we're going to need 22 tons of bricks, which isn't a huge amount, but you're going to run into, like if you're building a big long bridge, and it's the only kind of bridge that's available, so you'll definitely need the bricks there. Now I'm forgetting, the only time you'll ever need the wood is if you build, or the lumber, let's do this, is if you are building these wooden tracks. So it's another argument, in my opinion, kind of against the wooden tracks. So often if you see my setup, I've learned to not even have boards be part of it, just because it just takes up space in the warehouse that you could use for the other things. And often, you know, I'll turn the bricks down a fair amount because if I know I'm not going to be building any bridges, then they're taking up room too. And if we only have 2 trains here. In a different situation, it might be possible to have more. So let's see what happens if we try to have more. Because in a second we should. So we're going to go purchase. Oops, not that kind of purchase. Purchase 2 more railway cranes. Now, if you notice, this guy's following this track pretty well this time. This guy may come out here. Now, he may decide to go straight, but he also may decide to double back. And if he doubles back, then he can't complete that task. I'll show you what I mean in a second. Here, let's go fast forward. See if he... And you'll see, like, the tasks down here that we have on the construction office screen. Yeah, let's see. Of course, he's going to go straight. 9 times out of 10, they don't go straight, but this guy is going straight, which is fine because what I wanted to do was show you, okay, well, this is still another section, right? So I'm going to assign third one, and we're going to have another train come out. And once this guy were to get done, now the problem that you have here, and of course they didn't conflict. I'm hoping that they'll get a little bit of a conflict. What happens is the train, and this is perfectly valid to do. The problem is that that guy didn't quite get done, so I can't assign another one. Like, you need to have the right number of tracks here to get them all out there. Yeah, see, now that guy, he's not conflicted. Every time they get to the end of their construction project, they slow down. Yeah, I'm hoping this guy gets done before this guy tries to come back out. It's looking like this. Of course, when I go to do this, no one's going to run into each other. This guy needs to turn around and bump into him. Yeah, I have the perfect timing that they're not. Okay, let's try this. So we're going to get ready. Let's go slow for a second so I can get all ready. And we are going to try to assign this when this guy turns around. So that way I'm deliberately trying to get them to run into each other. If you haven't noticed. Just to show you what happens. Now I'm spending way too much time trying to get them to run into each other. But there you go. This is it. Because of the running into each other, and it's not even so much like in this situation. I'll show you more situations. Yeah, that guy's going back. That's fine. It doesn't matter. That guy's going back because they're done. This guy, yeah, see, once they go low on supplies there, then it means they're getting close to turning around. So as soon as he turns around, I'm going to click on this. And this other guy's going to be forced to come up this track, and they're going to come head to head. There you go. So there's 2 guys on this one track right here. Go back to regular time. Now, in this case, we kind of got lucky that the train that was carrying all the supplies got the priority. But it's just as likely that the train coming back will get the priority. Though, I don't know, it seems like this guy will get it more often than not. Now, what I would like to do is show you, you say, well, that's not so bad, right? You can construct all this stuff. However, a lot of the times that you're constructing, it's not some open playground where it's only these rail cranes. So you're going to have some signals. There's a good chance, because if you look at this situation, let's pretend this is already completed. You're going to have, say, just, a regular signal here and a regular signal here. Now you're going to have this one going this way and this one going that way, right? Because let's say you're doing right-hand rule. Of course, you might be British and do left-hand rule, and that's completely valid. I've heard in the past, I've never really done left-hand rule, but I don't see where it's going to cause any particular problems. Now look what happens. All of a sudden, and this would be completely normal, right? Yeah, look, see, this guy can't get to his job anymore. And even if we do this, you say, okay, well, let's do this, right? Where we're going to do, okay, we know we have a construction, and we know that this train needs to get back and forth. So we switch these over to a double double way, so that way these trains can get in and out. Well, now this guy loses his question mark, right? It is possible for him to get out here and finish this section of track. However, what happens now to you is he's got a red signal. So now I'll just show you, like, let's fast forward a little bit just so let's get this guy get done. So now, again, pretending you're off building other things and checking on other workers in your resource-filled map. And, yeah, is he going to get that done? We'll see. It's going to be close. It's always nice. Oh, no, that's very typical that they will get to 99.9%, 97% done. But then this is going to be a very typical situation that you run into. All right, where they're conflicting with each other pretty consistently and constantly around these signals, and you kind of need the signals because, again, we're pretending we have other tracks that are doing things, right? Like there's other trains that need to be on this particular track. We're pretending for a second. So there you go. So what do? Well, you have two options. One, a lot of times, again, if you have 4 different cranes, it's a little bit hard to see which one is which, but you can choose to take this rail crane and cancel his project, which is a bit of a pain, right? If you notice which one he's on, for us it's really easy this case, but he may be who knows where doing what, coming back, and you're not paying attention. You come back and you see this. The other thing that's kind of easy to do is to just come in and delete the signal. Now we'll do this and we'll see which one of these gets reset. I'll show you what I mean. See, the one I didn't want got reset at that point. Like I would have rather had the guy that was already ready to go out there and get more materials on the go. So now we should be able to do this again, right? But the problem is they're going to send the 2 tracks out or trains out, and we can't do both. But, of course, in your life, let's pause it for a second. I want to point something else out. Just like with the roads, if you haven't experienced yet, we're going to say, okay, well, let's signal this up, right? This needs to be 2-way, but look what happened. We lost our project down here on the screen, and this is now 2 separate projects, right? Same thing here, but we could signal this similar to the way you would if you were doing it, except for we're just trying to divide this up for construction purposes so that at least if they can get out there, they get out there. So let's go ahead and assign this project again. Oh, we just need to assign that little bit. Why can't I assign that? Oh, am I not doing something right? Why don't we hit play? You know what happened? It was a certain percentage completed. So because I put the thing here, it was at least that far completed. Like if we look at this one, it's already saying this percentage. It doesn't look like it's that completed, but watch what happens. Kind of more of a graphics thing than anything else. So if we assign this one and this one now, we should be okay, and it will work, reasonably well where they won't get into each other. Because you don't have tons of trains, as far as putting chain signals in, I haven't found it to be that beneficial. I sort of go back and forth. It sort of depends on the situation and the timing of things, but if you notice, this guy might pause a minute while that guy clears. And yeah, this is another thing. You want to try to, if you're prioritizing the work, like micromanaging them. Yeah, see, watch how this guy slides forward a lot. Look, he's not building anything. And watch what happens here. Because remember, we're 50% done. See how all of a sudden he completed all of that stuff? So there we go. So let's add to some of this. And that won't hurt us in any way. Come on. Yeah, that I find, I'm sure that's, now what I did is I'm deliberately doing what I'm doing here. Because I would like to show you something on these 2 tracks. And then we'll do, I just want to keep these guys rolling. There we go. So now this guy, you'll notice, will jump right from this track right into this one. But what I'm going to do real quick, let's change this up. I want to just make this an electric track. And we're going to, we need to assign another project. So let's assign this and this and this. So now this guy, if you watch what happens, he will go right on into this electrical track project because he's already has all the, when they go out, always go out with as much materials as they can grab, right? Relative to the problem that I showed you earlier. So notice how he just goes right on through here and he starts, we'll do fast forward time a little bit. He starts laying down this track with no problems. You know, he went from one project right to the other, and that's great. That's exactly what you want. You want to get, especially as you get further and further away, you really want these guys to go out there and just keep constructing and just keep going and going and going. And you don't want them to stop, but I want to point out what happens here. Here, you know what, as a matter of fact, we're even going to do this. And again, this is all just for demonstration purposes. Right, so now he got done this track as much as he could do, right? But he didn't start working on the next one, even though that one's regular track. See that? And he still, oops, well, he still had supplies. Now look, watch what happens now. This is a good time to pause it. Let's close this. We're only getting 0.7 out of 350 tons of electrical components. And I wanted to point that out. Like, we have far more than that. We have 20 tons of electrical components in here. So connecting these buildings, it's just, you know, we're doing okay with the steel storage, but why are we only getting that much in here? Now, look, if it's like it's a whole separate building, so it doesn't look like it should interfere, right? They're saying open storage, warehouse space. Why are we only getting that much in electrical components? And it's, they will take out, again, like I said, a full load. So really, certainly if you were going to do this where we're just purchasing it over here and shifting it in, I'm pretending that we have trucks or a train or something filling this guy up with electrical components. But I just wanted you to notice that this really is not an ideal situation. This guy barely looks like he's carrying anything. So in this particular case, to fix this, I'm just going to come in here and purchase resources. And I'm just going to say, I want you to purchase and fill up this thing with the resources. And then I'll show you what happens when this guy comes back, right? So this guy did the same thing, right? Look, and he has materials. He could have kept going building this track, but he won't because it's like another phase of the project where they have to lay down the electrical. Now I want to see, does this guy even get done doing this one little section? Because you can see he looks empty, because he's barely got anything in him. And I do kind of wish you could see what they were carrying. But let's see if he even gets that one section done. And his buddy should be back up here. He may not even get this one little section done, though they don't need a ton of the stuff to do this. Now, it looks like he will. But I just want to point this out because one of the things that, there you go, he did get it done, which is good. But the point is, too, that now he's heading back and he's getting more supplies. I also wanted to point out, look, we have all these cranes going and everybody's happy. We got some workers, you know, definitely enough to keep things rolling. And then, but notice this guy has 10 tons of stuff, right? Like, just this guy probably only had like 0.7 electrical components when he came out. This guy has as many as he can carry between the electrical components, and you need the prefab panels. See, this is like at a little bit of steel. So this is like a whole new section. It's just like the other construction phases. So what I'd like to do is let's have a little bit of a race here, and I'll show you why I do this. I'm going to deliberately make, I think are we getting into a hill? Oh, not too bad. So what I want to do is deliberately make this guy, we're going to make them identical. Oops. So I'm deliberately making these separate sections, which you wouldn't normally, I would hope, do. and then there we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back. So this one, if you hover over, by the way, it's hard to see otherwise, but if you hover over, see how you can tell which one's electric, which one's not? So I'm going to electrify these, this one side, but not this other side. And then we're going to fast forward and be quiet for a minute and turn off our wireframe. What I'll do is I'll come back when let's see, I mean, more or less, you know, we should be able to tell which side of this track gets done more quickly. So let me be quiet and we'll fast forward and we'll get to the end of when I'm about to reassign something. I'll show you what I mean in a second. Okay, I'm not sure if you, excuse me, if you notice what happened there, but this guy, and I know this guy was way ahead to start out, but notice he just went with less trips back and forth and built this whole thing. So once he gets off of there, what I'll do is I'll come up here and I will assign this, and I will assign this and this, all right, and then we'll come back over to here. We can close that. Let's assign the first one in the row, and then we have another train coming out to do that. Now, there was a little bit of a hitch where they got, you guys may have noticed that in the fast forwarding, I got rid of all these signals because we really didn't need them. And I didn't want them to cause any more problems with the signaling. But now notice what this guy's doing is he's going to go and he's going to, oops, sorry. He's going to finish, see, he finished laying all this track. Now he's got to go back and get electrical supplies. Now notice what this guy's doing, and they can go really far with their electrical supplies. So he just goes from one to the next to the next. It is massively quicker to construct like this. Now again, I know this wasn't the world's greatest test. That wasn't my point. You can go prove it for yourself with a better test, or go, I don't know, just believe me. But there you go. If you look, this guy is now done, and this guy is just coming back to finish the electrical part of this one, and then he'll go up to there with his electrical components, and then he'll stop, and he'll go all the way back. So there you go. So if you're going to be doing electrical tracks with the construction, you really want to consider, now I know it's a micromanaging bit of a pain, but that's just sort of the way it is, right? So there we go. So now we spent quite a bit of time on the basics here, and I want to point out something else. We cannot get to construct these tracks with the setup that we have. So if I were to click on this, it's going to say, oops, oh, I'm trying to click right where the sign's popping up, and it keeps closing it as soon as yeah, the game is a little bit funny with the windows and the clicking. Sometimes things like that happen. So there we go. So it doesn't connect. They won't come in and go backwards, which would really be a big thing if they would be allowed to do that. Just the rail cranes, because you get into these certain situations that you just can't do anything about it. And I think that's really all of the basics. I mean, I know it's kind of a lot to take in if you've never done rail construction. There you go. Look, this guy got done this section, all the track, and he's going back again to go get the electrical components. So there you go. So what I did was, let's just pause time for a second, because why not? There, we have a pretty reasonable little situation. What I want to do is, and again, I think we've covered most of the basics of what you would need to construct. If you have any questions or comments, let me know. I'll try to answer them one way or the other. We will we might have another. Yeah, well, I don't know. Let's see. I think we'll have like one more episode just to clean and wrap everything's up. But I did things over here as well. And in this particular case, you know what we're going to do? Let's move all the people out of this house because, hey, why not? And I want to move them all over to here. So we take our skilled workers who are used to working on the railroad. Why is that? Oh, because we made some babies. Interesting. Well, good. We were making babies. Do we have food and all here? Yeah, good. Okay, we have power, right? Yes. Good. Missing staff. We can live with missing staff. So what I would like to talk about now is, in my opinion, the way I in real life have found that it's pretty darn good to set up a what do you call it? I'm going to do something else here too. Yeah, let's connect this because this is something else I do. And as a matter of fact, one other thing I want to do. Can I get? Sorry about this. Can I get a road? Yeah, I want to get a road from here. You can't go through that. Good. I'm going to purchase that. And I guess I need to purchase all these other things. We play time slowly forward, let our people get involved. So the people should be able to, walk right over to here. So we should get some workers in here once they get their needs met. That's something else just to point out about the game. Like, notice that like nobody's going to work. When you relocate people, it's like it resets them as far as their needs and whatnot. So they all went off to get their needs met. Keep that in mind. Give it a little time, and then next thing you know, you'll see people coming over to work here. Hopefully. So anyway, while we're waiting for that, but yeah, see, at this point, none of them have any of their needs met. They don't, so they're all going out to get those things done first, and then they should go over and work after that. But while we're waiting for that, you know what I didn't put in? I didn't put in a road depot so that we could buy some vehicles. Because again, I want to make this. Yeah, can I do that? Yeah, right there. Okay. How about we? Nope, not wire. Well, wireframe might be okay for a second, but push this back a little bit so that so I know I can get the road connected. And road. Good. Okay, so what we're going to do here to end the episode is show you how, just talk about it too, of course. How do we get this to, and let me close these flats. We got enough things open. We'll believe me that we will eventually get some workers over here. So what we need to do is set this guy up so that he gets a good amount of supplies without going nuts about it. And we don't have any stuff in here. So let's see. We need to come to, is this completed? Yeah, we're going to buy a couple things. You're going to need at least 2, if not 3. Now, again, I'm assuming you're not going to do the wooden tracks because you got to keep that in mind, too. So you might, if you want to store wood in here, you might need another, not covered hall. We are going to need a covered hall, open hall. So you either need 3 or 4 covered halls. But if you're not building any bridges, which we're not, we don't need any bricks, right? But I'm going to buy one for the bricks anyway, just to show you how it works out. We're going to need an oil tank cistern, and if this wasn't right near our houses, you would probably also need buses as well, and I'll show you how that works out. So then the other thing we're going to need is dumpers. So let's get 2 dumpers just because gravel is in such demand. Now again, if you're relatively close, this will work out, and even if you're not, you may take a hit on your productivity, but at the same time, not the end of the world, all right? So let's come here and say our covered hall, we can close this for a minute. Our covered hall is going to need to go from here to here. right? And he can load anything, but we'll just tell him to take electronic components. There's only going to be electronic components in there, so we can start him on his way. And then, you know, close that guy, and then open haul. We want him to come here and then here. And then what I want to do is, let me just copy that real quick. Might be a little bit quicker. All right, so we'll just have one of these guys taking steel. And we can start him. And then one of these guys taking prefab panels. Let me pretend that these might be coming from different yards, and your situation doesn't really matter where the stuff's coming from. And then this final guy, I'm not going to start him up right away. We'll have him grab some bricks. And notice they're just coming over here, filling up, and then taking the stuff over to here and dropping it off. All right, so we're going to just leave this guy. Let's shrink him up for a second. And dumper. Now, you may say, but just so you know, you cannot drop gravel off at the road construction office. So just keep that in mind. And if you look, it doesn't list it here, resources available from the construction office, like you don't see gravel. So these guys would need to go from here to here. And I'm just going to have them unload anything because there's only gravel in there. You know what? I do like to do this just so you can keep track of who's hauling what on your map. So why don't I stay true to my normal convention there. There you go. So this guy, we'll start him and close him and close him. And then this, all right, so there we go. So we'll have some oil in there for this guy to pick up and take over directly into here, right? Because we can't drop it off in either one of these two places for similar reasons. So there we go. So yeah, you can load anything. But again, we'll go to my convention and say, well, we just want fuel. Now, the other thing is with all of these guys, we really want them to wait, right? We could even put that on just drop off fuel, but it won't matter too much. Otherwise, what happens is, like, these guys start driving back and forth the whole time, over and over and over again. See how they're just going back and forth, and they still have a bunch of stuff in there? So, and again, I usually do this just so I could be real clear as to what I intend for them to do, even though I know it's not necessary, and this guy's probably not waiting. So now, let's go over why I did exactly what I did. And when you think about it, let's get these guys waiting a minute. Where is our other? Yeah, there he is. So they're going to pull in here. So if you look, you have 3 stations here. Now you can, if we had a bus stop, is this guy not waiting? No, he is. Okay, he's filling up. Yeah, he'll wait the next time. So you have 3 guys in here, and if you don't have the lumber truck, you could actually put like another steel and or prefab panels. But what will happen is that if you put too many vehicles in here, there's a chance, like let's just say we bought another truck that was going to do prefab panels. No problem. It would slide in here and have prefab panels. But if we start getting too many trucks like that, you can actually get it to where you block yourself from being able to drop off one thing. But there is good news, depending on how you want. If you really want to sort of maximize out the number of trucks that are bringing stuff over here, you can get like another, you could get like another construction connection here. We're not going to do this officially, just, see what I mean? So you could have another rail construction, and that really would in some ways be better. I'm not sure how close to perfect you need it to be. I did want to point out, when you drop it off with the trucks, look, we keep filling up. So that's a very positive thing. And by doing this separately, I might even recommend, if you really wanted to bring a lot of trucks towards here, you could use trucks to build up a buffer but you don't want them sticking out into your normal traffic. So there we go. So this is a very typical setup of what I would have, other than the fact that I get tempted to want to put more and more trucks on here. If this rail construction office, I mean, this is really close to the supplies, but you can see that there are certainly some benefits to just doing this by truck. Like, all of this represents the things on your map at that point, right? Where this, all you would need is this and some buses, and this leaves you some open space to have a bus come in. You could also have another one of the vehicles come over and drop off directly here. So if you're starting to get busy here, right, like we want to now do, let's do it like we now want to get, bricks over here. So let's start this guy up. And let's say we have, let's get rid of the boards, right? Because remember, we don't want any boards. We're not going to be building any wooden track. So that'll up the amounts of these. Now, do we really want to hold 18 tons of bricks? I say no. Let's reduce that even further. Let's say 12, because I think that's or 13. That's a pretty good amount of bricks to have over here. Now, this guy, is he waiting? Probably not. And we'll put him on wait. So now, if you have a problem, now again, keep in mind, in this situation, we don't need any buses, but what we could do, and this would work, is I'm going to come over here and buy 2 more open hauls. And I am going to get our prefabs truck and our steel truck. And I'm going to copy 1 to there and 1 to there. Except, oops, whatever popped open right at that second. Nope, I missed. There we go. So now, instead of sending, let's just start this guy, right? Now, what's going to happen is, oops, did I miss the button? Yeah, bricks guy's going back, I think, for more bricks. What's going to happen is this guy, there's a possibility that we could, like if we start going back and forth, because we're going to have this bricks guy sitting in here, we could end up with 2 prefabs and no steel guy. Does that make sense? Because like right now we have a steel guy and or vice versa. We could end up with 2 steel guys and no prefabs guys. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new stop to this one, get rid of this, and then say unload your prefab panels here and wait. That makes sense? So this is sort of the maximum number that you could get in here. And I'm focusing on all of this so much because it really does make a difference. Like it really, truly, like see, I will have this guy waiting, but imagine that the next guy that pulls out is this prefabs. Like we can actually send him on his way. Right? So you go to your next stop. Now we're just sitting here waiting, but imagine we don't have enough prefabs coming in here now because we have 2 steel trucks here. It's hard to see, but see the 2 steel trucks, like our prefab guy couldn't get in here. But don't have no fear. We sent this other prefab guy over to here. And if we were busing workers in, you'll see he'll get over there and stop and clog up this parking space. That would be like the maximum you could do. And that's really not a bad setup. 2 of the prefab and steel trucks plus, well, the bricks guy is going to be, depending on if you're building a bridge. We've got a nice supply of the electronic components, assuming we're not getting all this stuff from too far. This is a really nice setup. Simple in the sense that when you think about it, this is all you would need to build to make the rail setup work fairly well. And this would be maximizing it out. And then again, look, you can build probably even 2 more of these we could build another one right off of this thing if I didn't do it quite the way I did. So you could have quite a few trucks coming in here. And in my opinion, I don't know, the less of these storages that you have around the map, kind of the better, because it's stuff you're storing that you're really not going to be using that well. And this is nice because when you get done constructing in this area, you just pull all your trucks off of it. And let's go and talk about one last thing. If you guys have any questions, look, it's an opinion thing. Do what you want, right? Like, do what you feel best about. I like this little setup just because, oops, these guys aren't waiting. We'll get them to wait, make it look a little more efficient. I like this setup because it's just, you know, I'm not building too much extra stuff that I'm just going to delete. Normally I'd have buses coming over here, so and there's my slot for the buses, right? Now, they'll always be running back and forth if you're running this construction. Here we go. I wanted to point out one more thing, and this will get into next week's episode. I kind of switched up the topics a little bit, but I wanted to show a little bit more practical thing, and I messed it up in just the perfect way that I left it sit here. So let's take a look, and sometimes it's better to just have this signaling thing so you guys can see better, even in real life, but certainly on the YouTube. This signal is now red. And the whole entire thing has ground to a halt, right? So in other words, we've got a complete mess here. And the question is, well, what do we do about that? You know, how can we get this cleared out? And I'm not even actually 100% sure where the problem is, except for I know that this can all be feeding back in on itself. So these aren't built yet, right? But the game thinks that this is connected. So for example, this train, it's just that train. This train here is causing this red signal. So let's go ahead and put in, just for temporary, at least that right there, right? Yeah, so we'll see what else is red. See, the other thing that's going to be red is that this guy is now in here. So we could say go like this, and then we could go like this, and sort of, if you look, now our new construction is isolated, but what we did was we let this guy come in, and he's now sitting here on this whole mess, which is sort of feeding into here being red, and it's causing this to be red. All right, so let's see, can we get rid of this signal? And then this one turns red, and we can get rid of this signal, and we can get rid of this signal. Let's see which way this guy tries to go. I'm hoping he goes this way. He may, you have some graphics things. No, he won't. All right, so let's go back and put our, right here, put our signal in. I was hoping that would get somebody flowing. The problem that we have now is the entire thing is just locked up. And this guy wants to go that way. So I think what I need to do is at least get this guy off of here. And this should be a regular signal back out. Oops. All right, so we're still all red. This guy has blue, means he wants to go that way. This guy has blue, means he wants to go this way. Yeah, I think I just need to like bump these guys around. But the big thing that we need to do here is get rid of this chain signal, or we could even consider putting in a double chain. Right, and that's really what I wanted to show you guys with this as much as anything. And then also some of the issues that are going to be. But we're getting really long in this guy. Oh, we don't have a gas station. Here you go. Get a gas station. All right, so let's see. Yeah, this guy's going to run into the back of that guy, which isn't particularly good. This guy's all jammed up. That guy's all jammed up. This guy wants to go the wrong way. Where does this guy think he's going? Did I put that? Oh, you know what the other thing is? Yeah, let's come back over to here. Let's see if we can't get this. This will be. Oops. Come on. Yeah, this needs to be after. All right, so let's see if we can't get this guy. Yeah, this guy wants to go this way, so let's get rid of this guy's signal. See if we can't jam these guys around enough. See, he probably will lose his. Yeah, he'll lose his thing, and then we'll put that one back in. He's a nice short train, so he should get out of that block. So that should let somebody else go. Yeah, this is really not what I intended. There you go. See, and this is the benefit to letting them, you know, whole train get by there. Somebody's got to get out of the circle eventually. Yep, this guy's going to get out of the circle. Very good. And then this guy needs to get it flipped around. And see, look, this is going to work out fine for the short train here. Okay, this guy is going to go. I really would rather them start getting... Okay, so is this guy, because he must be going this way. There we go. So all of that was caused. Just so you know, I hear people, I want to say complaining, but when I went and laid this down, right, it was actually running quite well until I started laying this down. And, yeah, let's see. So we should... Yeah, the problem is that we have now is this guy's on a red. Okay, you know what? I'm going to pause this right here. This guy's signal shouldn't be red, right? Unless he's feeding back in on himself. Is he feeding back in on himself? Yes. See this? So in other words, it's feeding back into this loop in a sense. So let me get rid of this to get him out of the middle. So that's not particularly a good place for a... Oops. You know, he's got a red here. Why is this red? Yeah, let's get rid of this chain. So what we're effectively doing here is we're taking this whole thing and we're making it like a giant thing. So this should be okay. Let's see. Now, why are you going that way? I don't want you to go that way. And how did you... Oh, is this not a chain? Oh, it is a chain. It shouldn't have let him in there. Okay, there you go. Yeah, get out of this. Get out of the loop. Somebody's got to be able to loop around eventually. This guy might have pulled forward. Sometimes when you're in the middle of this stuff, and I think we're going to end without me actually doing the construction thing, but I was just going to show you that mostly just show you that the construction thing, like it's going to be very difficult or impossible to get this section of track done because, like, you know, in order to try to send them where they can go back and forth to get here, it's just going to be very difficult. We'd have to interrupt this whole loop. And I also just wanted to show you the signaling issue that this would cause, and it really was kind of perfect. You know, if you're going to do the trains in this game, by the way, I think we have it fixed, even though we're not doing too well, it might seem. But as long as we don't get a train into here, but just wanted to point out by like trying to put this real close and mess with our signaling here, we've caused a lot of problems, right? But this should be, like I said, I think it's going to be straightened out now. Now, this is another problem when you start getting this going on, because if you've got too many trains over here and nobody can get out of the way, this could cause a permanent clog up. This is not fixable. But other than to do more, we could fit more trains in if we did more signaling, right? So we could, in theory, come here, right, and make sure we get some more trains out of let these trains get in there and sit waiting over here. Like you might even have to build extra track or like a rail siding to let these guys in. There you go. And that's the problem with having stations that are really close without some kind of an outlet to store trains. You know, you might say, "Oh, my intersection's all messed up." No, you don't have enough. You're trying to put too many trains in this area was our problem for a moment there. So let's just end the episode. It's going to be a little bit under an hour after I get the fast forwarding done. But as you'll see here in a minute, let's do some faster. We should be flowing again. And again, all of that was caused because I put this in. And yeah, we will come back in the next episode or the next course, and we'll talk about the complexities, and we'll get into this a little bit more. But if you have some more questions, let me know. But there you go. See, we got all that cleared out. So I'm kind of glad to do that in this episode. And I just wanted to point out that it's all because of your construction signaling that you can cause a nightmare. And I guess the biggest thing to keep in mind, this is a particular circumstance, is that these count as fully finished tracks as soon as you lay them down. Even when they're white, by the way, they count as tracks and can start messing up your signaling, which is one of the reasons I like to pause things so much. There we go. All right, guys. Well, like I said, I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Thanks for all the likes and subscriptions. I do definitely appreciate the moral support there. So I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.